Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakadash. I wanted to put this message together because I got a young man for a son. So I said, hey, let me give a little bit of backdrop real quick. So I used to be heavy into barbering years ago. I used to cut my son's hair all the time. But now my son grew his hair out. First he grew the afro. Now he has braids. They're not long. They kind of short, kind of sorta. But one thing I veered away from years ago when I came into the knowledge and the truth is, I no longer lined them up. I mean, I would kind of clean them up so he wouldn't look too crazy, but I veered away from the super crispy, sharp ass lineups, right? So I figured I'd put a lesson together because it might be beneficial to another brother. Well, let's jump right into it, right? So, and this is the same thing I did for my son. I walked him through the scriptures to break it down for him, right? So I just basically told my son that was an Egyptian custom, right? But let's get into the lesson. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 3. You must not do as they do in Egypt, where you used to live, and you must not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. Do not follow their practices. So the first thing you should want to do when you read that, you should want to go back to Egyptian custom and practices. So a couple of articles I got pulled up here real quick is facts and details, on Egyptian hairstyles, wigs, facial hairs, and hair care in ancient Egypt, right? Because remember, our people were held captive in Egypt for over 400 years, were they not? Right? But I'm going to get to the point because I like to be linear and efficient in lessons. And it reads, body and facial hair in ancient Egypt. Okay, let's get to the point. The Egyptians thought that an abundance of facial hair was a sign of uncleanness and personal neglect. An exception to this was a man's thin mustache or goatee. There was no soap, so an oil or salve was probably used to soften the skin and hairs of the area to be shaven. Tweezers with blunt or sharp ends were used for removing individual facial hairs, right? And it goes on further to break a few more things down, but that's the gist. Pull that article up. You can read it at any time, right? So I'm gonna go back and grab another piece that I found interesting about Egypt too as well. Okay, again, just getting straight to the point. Got to do a little more reading here because you always want to put your facts together, right? Ancient Egyptians. In the early years of Egyptian civilization, men grew out their beards, along with the hair on their heads. Death masks and murals from this period depict men sporting full beards. Kings would braid their beards and dust them with gold powder. Some Egyptian men, like Rahotep, a third dynasty official, even rocked awesome mustaches, right? Let's go down a little bit. Let's read a little bit more. But the love of viral and natural body hair would quickly fade as Egyptian men embraced shaving with gusto. At the start of the dynastic period, dynastic meaning at the start of the dynasties, right? During this time, hair became seen as a symbol of a man's animalistic tendencies, right? Quick note here, for us that men that are in the knowledge and the truth, I have a full beard. My son, he has a mustache right now, but for us in the knowledge and the truth, our beards are like a lion's mane. Even Yahweh Shai was known from the line of the tribe of Judah, right? We know, those of us in the knowledge, we already know, man, the Lord had us Israelite men in mind when he created the lions, right? And there's nothing like seeing, one of the elder brothers or older brothers with a nice thick beard, afro, whether it's a small fro and a big beard. We look like lions, don't we? All right, let's get back to this. Let me start back. Thus, to put off the primal man and become civilized, Egyptian men began removing all the hair from their heads, faces, and even bodies. Wealthy Egyptian men often hired full time barbers. So, barbers been around forever, brothers, to live with them in order to maintain their smooth as a baby behind look every day. Less affluent Egyptians would frequent the local barber to have their faces and heads shaved daily. To appear unshaven became a mark of low class status, right? That then the article begins to go into the Greeks, etc., etc. But so it talked about the Egyptians bringing that to into fruition. But let's jump into a few more scriptures here, right? Okay, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 27. It says, "Ye shall not round the corners of your beards, neither neither shalt thou mark the corners of thy beards." Oh, pardon me, brothers. It says, "You shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shall you mar the corner of your beards." You see in the King James version below, it says, "You shall not shave around the sides of your heads, nor shall you disfigure the edges of your beards," right? Pretty common knowledge. And this is the same information I had to walk my son through. But as we saw in that first article, it talked about the Egyptian priest, right? Even our elders, our priests, Moses, Aaron, right? Leviticus chapter 21 and 5. Priests must not shave their heads or shave off the edges of their beards, right? The same rules applies for us and also the priests as well, us as a whole nation of men, right? Including our women too. I mean, they don't have beards, but they were not allowed to shave off the sides of their heads like the modern day woman you see now. Half their damn head shaved off. The other half is braided or twisted or whatever the hell they got going on, right? So this is what I had to walk my son through the same. Now, if this isn't round, let me go back, brothers. Now, if this isn't round here, I don't know what the hell is, you know. As we just seen in the articles, right? We see some brothers lined up crispy to the nine, right? Let me come out of this, brothers. These cats here, you know. If this isn't round, brothers, I don't know what to tell you. You know, if this isn't the size of your head shaving off here, I don't know what the hell to tell you. If this isn't, you should not round and taper the size of your heads or the corners of your beards. I don't know what to tell you, man. This is the same thing I had to walk my son through. I mean, he got it. He got it. He's still, he's a young man. You know, he'll go for a stint without lining up the corners of his heads or what have you. Look at this, man. You know, I mean, only thing I could do is raise him up in the way that he should go, right? But that's not saying you can't get a haircut. That's not saying that, right? Let's get that. So of course you can get a haircut, but let me get one more precept about how our priests, our brothers, they had beards, right? Psalms 133 and verse 2. "It is like a precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard that went down to the skirts of his garments." It is not saying that Aaron wore a skirt. You know, even in the scriptures it says Yahushua in Revelation said that he had on a garment down to what, his feet. So his fringes, his garment was long, it was low, right? Even the woman in Matthew, she said, "If I can touch the fringe," she was crawling on the ground. She said, "What? Even if I could touch the fringe of his garments," right? So that's not saying he had on the literal skirt. Let's use some common sense here, right? Let's come out of this, right? So we got those, and in this brother here, I like detective shows, I like lawyer shows. This brother here is a solid example. You know, if you're in the truth and you're in the knowledge, man, it's okay. It's perfectly fine to get a haircut. But you shouldn't be super tapered up, lined up. Like this young cat here, or any of these guys here, man. You should look more like this guy here, where it says, "OG paid me $500 to make him look younger." Now you should embrace that. Even Proverbs tells us the gray hair is the glory of an older man. But that gray hair what symbolizes wisdom, right? Right? Okay, let's come out of this. I want to cover, getting you getting your hair cut, because that's perfectly fine. You can get a haircut, right? Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 20. They must not shave their heads or let their hair grow long, but they are to keep their hair, but they are to keep their hair of their heads trimmed, right? Let's go down to the King James version real quick, right? Something that is said, and something I want to bring out because I went back and looked up the word. Neither shall they, and it reads, neither shall they shave their heads, nor suffer their locks, don't get it twisted, that means braids, to grow long. They shall only poll their heads, right? Right? So it's saying poll your heads. What does poll mean, right? And I'm sure you brothers know this, but I wanted to make sure that I brought the definition up. Poll. Let me go down. I just had it pulled up here. Poll means to, let me go back. Okay. To cut off or cut short the hair or wool of. It means to crop it, to cut it short, not to bald it, but to cut it down, to cut it short. Kind of like this brother had here. See, his hair isn't quite the afro yet, but it's cut down. His beard is cut kind of short, but you can cut it a little lower if you like, right? Come out of this, brothers. Let me go here. Now, of course, two instances, and I'm not going to read all this, but I want you to have it as reference points. Of course, if you took the Nazarite vow, you can let your hair grow, but at some point the Nazarite vow would end, right? So you can read all of this in Numbers chapter 6, verse 1 through 21. Now, of course, at the end of the Nazarite vow, you would shave yourself, right? You would shave your eyebrows, you would shave everything, right? So in that instance, if you're ending a Nazarite vow, you would shave yourself, right? But also during that Nazarite vow, you would abstain from drinking it too as well. So the Nazarite vow is layered, right? You can read that in your own time. But also, too, in a state of mourning, right? In a state of intense, extreme mourning, as it says in Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 29, and it says it in other places too as well. You know, it says, shave your head in mourning and weep alone on the mountains. For the Lord has rejected and forsaken this generation that has provoked his fury. Okay? So that's a quick little lesson, man, on not rounding the corner of your beards, not rounding the corner of your heads, not shaving the side of your heads. Can you get haircuts? Absolutely. You can groom yourself. That's in the scriptures. You can groom yourself, but you should not take upon the ways of Egypt. Even we understand, those of us in knowledge, that America is Babylon, it's Egypt, it's Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Even in the old days, the Lord told us, cast off these ways, because we were coming out of Egypt, right? America today is modern day Egypt. Remember, the scripture said there's nothing new under the sun, right? All of this was happening back then, right? It's happening now too as well, right? I hope this lesson was beneficial to you. I know it's beneficial to my son. I can't really tell you the last time I remember him getting a lineup, but you brothers, I hope that this was edifying to you. All right, Shalom.